Alita Battle Angel is an action film directed by Robert Rodriguez and it's also written by James Cameron. The film is based on a manga. I'm not entirely familiar with the manga, I'll just say that before going into the review. I'm not particularly big on that kind of stuff. Certainly respect it and have read it in the past, but I don't really know a great deal about it all. So I'm basically going into this with no prior knowledge on the story and just viewing it as a film. And it's a film about this cyborg who gets discovered in a scrapyard by Christoph Waltz. And she basically has to find herself, and she discovers that she's this warrior, and she didn't know this because her memory had been wiped, and so then she becomes a warrior once again. And as action films go, for me, they're pretty hit and miss at times. I think often much of the action sequences are very well shot, very entertaining to watch. But then the actual story of the film ends up falling by the wayside and, pretty predictable, that kind of thing. And I would say this film pretty much follows that pattern too. While it does have a pretty good cast, I mean, we got Mahershala Ali in this film as well. As I've already said, Christoph Waltz. You would think that the acting would be pretty top-notch at times. But honestly, I think the acting in this film completely drags it down massively. The story itself is okay. It's fine. It's whatever. It's not really something I felt totally invested in throughout, but it was definitely the dialogue and the acting in this film that was really poor. Even Mahershala Ali playing a villainous character in this was piss poor. Like seriously, he did not fall into that role very well at all. Christoph Waltz was whatever. He was pretty stiff. Again, another actor who is often very good in his roles, but he was pretty standard. It didn't really add anything to the character, honestly. But yeah, literally everyone else, terrible. Every other actor in this film, the villains, the fucking demonic evil characters just said the corniest lines constantly. The guy who was Alita's love interest was such a wet fucking fish. He was just so bad. And that entire love story between them two as well was really phoned in. I hate how films like this always have to throw in some kind of love angle. They did it with Ready Player One as well. It just fell flat completely, and it's actually even worse in this film, I would say. Rose Salazar, though, did really do a great job at the voice acting. I really enjoyed watching her on screen, and some of the fight scenes she was in were fantastic. She was enjoyable to listen to as Alita, I must say. No real major criticisms there. Again, though, they did give her some pretty corny lines throughout. But other than that, it was a role well played. I also want to point out how some of the scenes that had really poor green screen took me out of the world too. It wasn't a particularly well-designed world. It looked really kind of bland, and I know it was one of those dystopian future type things that is constantly in every film ever these days. But I just feel like they could have used some of those, some of that to its advantage, but it did kind of look pretty boring. But yeah, as I said, some of the scenes just had such blatant green screen. It was really quite atrocious for such a big budget film to see this kind of thing, honestly. It was pretty pathetic. But yeah, I really feel like this film just missed so many opportunities to just make so many great action scenes. It took over an hour to get to the first one. That was so impressive to watch. Again, those scenes were the best part of the film. There was some really cool scenes as well with the motorball game that they had in the world too. They were really impressive to watch. But there were just 3 or 4 of them throughout the entire film. It just seemed like they completely wasted that. They could have made the film way more action-packed than they did. The story really just ended up going in predictable places too between the characters. As I said, the acting really dragged it down, so for me to stay invested within the story was a pretty tough task. And the way this film ended as well was awful. I hated the ending. I don't want to spoil it, but the ending was so aggravating. I got pissed off. Which is hilarious to think that I got actually annoyed by the ending, considering how little I enjoyed the film. But the ending just was so... Oh, man. Jesus Christ. It could have kept going. And they ended it off, and nah. So yeah, this was really underwhelming overall, aside from a few select amount of scenes. But yeah, the story was just whatever. Just went in such an obvious direction. Just didn't really keep me entertained. I wasn't really a fan. Can't say I hated this, but it was definitely a pretty bad film, so I'm going to go 4 out of 10. If you have seen this film, though, let me know what you thought of it. If you thought it was much better than what I think, hope you had more fun out of it than I did, but, whatever. If you didn't, let me know as well. Thank you for listening to what I have to say. Tell me what I should review next, and have a good day. Goodbye.